Hello, Heart of Mary. So where are you headed? This past November, I thought that I had it all planned. It was beautifully mapped out. And notice that I said I, and that's where the trouble comes in when I think I'm making my plans and putting all my plans in place. That's when God says, hey, maybe not. Maybe I've got another plan for you. The true story goes, we know that Joseph and Mary headed out of town onto a new town. There were no street lights or maps or flashlights, only the promise of God, the promise that God had placed within both of them. I'm sure that that's all they needed to trust. God was their compass. What an incredible gift we have all been given to have that for certain plan for our life. God knows. He knows the minute we're born and He knows the minute we die. Everything in between is not up to me. Everything in between is up to God. How we choose to let God direct our paths is up to us. He is our compass. All we have to do is follow Him. I try to imagine the whole nativity scene. And I think about the shepherds who were told by the angel to follow the star and how they must have just leaped over bushes and maybe tripped on rocks and pushed each other out of the way as they knew that they were running to something true. They were running to something that was divine from God. And of course, the wise men, I picture them just being so peaceful and calm as they kind of lumber back and forth on their camels as they follow the star as well. I shared with you that November wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to turn out to be. It was 100% God's plan. Maybe I had a few moments that I was kicking and screaming, but it was 100% His plan. In a nutshell, the month started off with me prepared to give my testimony at a prayer breakfast. I had taken the weeks before preparing and planning and writing down everything that I can remember all the way back to what my mother had taught me about my birth. Moving up into current day today. As it turns out, my testimony did not take place that day because there was a fire and the room I was supposed to give my testimony in had just had fire go all through the ceiling, so it was canceled. Great news is I'm rescheduled for next year around the same time, and actually the place that I'll be speaking now will be on consecrated ground. These breakfasts have been held for years at a country club-like restaurant. I said goodbye, and I helped to bury a friend who was so precious to me, a prayer warrior that prayed so fiercely and continues to pray for me this day. As I was prepared to share my testimony, it came up quite a bit. And so as I would find myself with different friends, we would talk about our own stories and we would begin to share. At some point, I was asked to come and speak to a group of parents about Mary. That's a no-brainer for me. Super easy. I can talk about Mary for hours if you need me to. The great news is about that particular talk. I had my testimony in my hand. I was prepared. I was ready to share my life, and I was ready to share how I met Mary on my path. For me, it was a beautiful experience, and I hope it was the same for the parents who were there as well. All during the month of November, I had been stricken with something that actually attacked my vocal cords, and I think I actually shared this with you a couple vlogs back. And what that had brought to me was challenges because I not only sing, but also public speaking can be challenging as well. And so that's where I was running into a little trouble. And then not to mention we had over 20 people here in our house for Thanksgiving because it was pouring rain outside. So being vocally challenged there was also pretty tough. Leaving out quite a few things, but I want to get to the best part of the story. So I had prepared my testimony. I thought it was for something, but now I know it was for something else. I had been praying and searching for a spiritual director, and I had my spiritual direction appointment and found myself in front of this beautiful holy priest. Thanks be to God, this priest knows my family, this priest knows me a bit, so it was a very easy transition. But what did this priest ask me? Something he had no idea was he wanted to know my story, and he wanted to start at the beginning. I took a breath and I said, Father, I am so ready for this because I have been prepared. When I was done with my testimony, my spiritual director looked up and he honed in on one section of it. And it was the time that I really had a particularly unhealthy time in my life. So physically, I was not well. Emotionally, I was not well. It was a time that my girls were getting ready to leave the nest, and my oldest one had left the nest. And because I had never really truly let her go, I had failed myself in many ways. See, I had thought I was on the perfect path as a mother. I had thought I was doing everything right. But in spiritual direction on that day, I found out that I didn't do it right, that I wasn't letting go as my girls were getting older, which is what I should have been doing all along. So what happened when they went? I fell apart. What happened when they went? I found a place within myself that I had never seen before, and it was terrifying. Thanks be to God, again, because of medication, therapy, and spiritual direction, I was able to pick up those broken pieces, and I was able to start putting my life back together again. This wasn't the path that I thought was going to carve out for my life. For me, was textbook up until that point. I failed to recognize that letting go was a very important part of my motherhood, that letting go throughout their lifetime would be better for me, that it would not serve me in such a difficult way when that time did come. This is the best part. So the following Wednesday, I found myself in front of Jesus, exposed in the Blessed Sacrament. And I was praying the rosary as I do, and I sat and I started thinking about that time in spiritual direction. And as I was praying, I felt physically something lift from me that had been holding me down for so long. And I believe in that moment, I had that particular healing take place that I needed to fully let go. And in the next moment that I had thought with the words in my mind, I was letting go of things that had held me back for so long. See, I would let go. I would hand the situation over to Jesus and I would say, here, it's yours. But because of my own control, my own needs, I would grab it back and pull it right back. And that failed me every time. Friend, you may think you have it all together like I did. You may think you have it all figured out. But the truth is, until we truly join hands with our Lord and continue down that path like Mary and Joseph did in trust, and like the wise men did in following the star, and like the shepherds did in leaping over bushes and peaks and valleys to follow that star. Until we do that, we're not going to be set free. I absolutely love walking this journey with all of you. You bless my life in the most beautiful way. You have made comments as well as to see where y'all come from, which is all over the world, which is so heartwarming. So let's just continue on this beautiful Advent. We have so many wonderful things that we can continue to do. As the sister said with the talk just a couple days ago, let's continue to have an intentional Advent. Let's continue to see how we can experience Advent in the moments in our days. God bless you all. Have a beautiful day. Bye, everyone.